Why won't China invade Taiwan? Now that Russia has invaded Ukraine, all eyes are on what China will do with Taiwan. So far, Xi Jinping's administration has threatened multiple times to reunify China and Taiwan, even by using force if necessary. The Chinese People's Liberation Army has also been reported to fly fighter planes into Taiwan's defense identification zone. However, one thing is sure, China won't invade Taiwan. Why? Well, stick around because in this video, we're going to find out the answer. Invading Taiwan will need the biggest logistical exercise in military history. According to official estimates, Taiwan has roughly 88,000 active duty personnel. This may not seem like much when compared to the People's Liberation Army, which has 2.3 million soldiers. However, the number of active duty soldiers underestimates Taiwan's human resource commitment to its defense. Taiwan has always had a large reservist program, as it has been aware of the threat of forceful reunification with mainland China throughout its history. In Taiwan, there are over 2.3 million military reservists. However, not all of these reservists, of course, will be ready and willing to serve when called up. Taiwanese officials have previously raised worry that a large percentage of the reserve army had received no training in the 8 years since their discharge. To be conservative in the estimates, let's assume that just 15% of reservists are called up and joined the full-time active duty army. Our total defense force now stands at 433,000 people. Conventional knowledge holds that it takes 3 attackers to overpower a single defender. If this 3-to-1 rule is applied to an invasion of Taiwan, the attacking force will require 1.3 million soldiers. To put the Battle of Normandy in context, by August, nearly 2 million soldiers had landed in Normandy, with 150,000 troops crossing the English Channel. So we've discovered that the invasion of Taiwan will be at least as large as the Battle of Normandy. There are reasons to believe, though, that an invasion of Taiwan would be more difficult than the Battle of Normandy, which is already the most complicated seaborne invasion in history. Taiwan has a number of traits that make invading it even more difficult than Normandy. Taiwan is almost impenetrable. Taiwan is more than a single Pacific Ocean island. Penghu is a small archipelago with roughly 90 islets about 30 miles away from Taiwan's main island. Because Penghu is part of Taiwan's first island chain, it will be the first line of defense for the main island. On Taiwan's main island, there aren't many ideal landing spots for an invading force. The eastern coast of Taiwan is rocky and rugged, making landing an invading force impossible. An invading force can make a direct attack on Taipei, which is exactly located on Taiwan's northern coast. But as the capital, Taipei will be strongly defended, posing resistance to any invading force. So, the southwest shore would be the most favorable path into Taiwan. The beaches on the southern shore are limited, but they offer some good landing spots. However, getting there needs crossing through Penghu's range. The Taiwanese are well aware of Penghu's importance and have taken the necessary precautions. Penghu is brimming with defenses. On the Penghu Island chain, about 60,000 troops are permanently stationed, armed with tanks and artillery. Missile destroyers patrol the waters of Penghu regularly. On Penghu, the Taiwanese Air Force executes staging maneuvers regularly. In short, Penghu is intended to cause substantial delays for any Chinese forces attempting to attack the main island. However, attempting to overwhelm Penghu would be the beginning of any invading force's problems. Both China and Taiwan acknowledge the strategic significance of southwestern beaches on Taiwan's main island. So, the Taiwanese have constructed their defenses in thousands of convenient hiding places along the narrow southwestern coasts. All of these preparations would make any Chinese invasion of Taiwan a hard and time-consuming affair. Taiwan is not Ukraine in the eyes of the United States. The Taiwan Relations Act, passed by the U.S. Congress, mandates that the U.S. equip Taiwan with the means to protect itself, among other things. In the case of an invasion, the Taiwan Relations Act does not obligate the U.S. to defend Taiwan. In fact, the U.S. adopts a policy of strategic ambiguity when it comes to how it would respond to a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. In other words, the U.S. would not state whether or not it would defend Taiwan with military force. However, the United States has numerous reasons to do so, which is why it is likely to be far more proactive in Taiwan's defense than it was in Ukraine. For starters, Chinese domination of Taiwan would alter the Pacific Ocean's delicate power balance. The control of Taiwan would bring China less than 100 miles from Japan's westernmost island. The U.S. maintains a substantial military presence in Japan. Chinese control of Taiwan would give China greater control over ship traffic in the South China Sea, possibly affecting the U.S. bases in Japan, Guam, South Korea, and Hawaii. The U.S. can respond quickly to a Chinese attack on Taiwan. If the U.S. decides to help Taiwan's defense, the U.S. Air Force could leave Okinawa and arrive in Taiwan in less than an hour, leaving the Chinese invading force very little time to strike Taiwan. This means the Chinese force would have to invade Taiwan with rapid speed and precision, giving the U.S. and its allies no time to respond. The surgical strike is really challenging to carry out, but the Chinese force won't have any other option. If China fails to neutralize Taiwan quickly, the U.S. may send in extra forces, like carrier battle groups, making the attack much more difficult to carry out. Xi Jinping avoids a huge career risk. We've already talked about how difficult it would be to invade Taiwan successfully. An invasion of Taiwan might go horribly wrong because there are many moving parts. Now, let's take a look at some of the internal factors that could prompt Xi Jinping to reconsider such a risky decision. One could be tempted to compare Xi Jinping to Vladimir Putin. After all, China's relationship with Russia is said to have no boundaries. However, Xi Jinping is not Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin maintains a near total control of Russia. Consider the viral video in which Putin publicly threatens Sergei Naryshkin, his intelligence chief, to do his bidding. On the other side, Xi Jinping is the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, making him an important decision-maker in the Politburo Standing Committee. Actually, the Standing Committee is a group of 7 people within the larger Politburo whose opinions and decisions have legal standing in China. Xi Jinping is the most important and powerful general secretary since Mao Zedong, with close ties to half of the Politburo members. Even so, his control over Politburo isn't absolute. The Standing Committee and the Politburo use collective decision-making, which means there are many backroom deals and negotiations between groups before a decision is taken on behalf of the whole Politburo. So, the Communist Party of China, the Standing Committee, and the Politburo are all recognized as legitimate sources of authority in the Chinese system. These groups aren't only there to rubber stamp Xi Jinping's policies like Russia does for Putin. They may see a careless invasion of Taiwan as an opportunity to overthrow Xi Jinping. So, despite his current authority in China, going all in to invade Taiwan might see the end of Xi Jinping's career, particularly if the invasion fails. China wants to influence the world. China makes big promises about integrating Taiwan into its borders, but even the integration of Taiwan into the People's Republic of China pales in comparison to China's ambitious desire to dethrone the U.S. as the world's preeminent power. China has remained firm in its Belt and Road Initiative, a huge infrastructure project in which the country invests billions of dollars annually to build links between China and the rest of Asia, Europe, and Africa. This is the most ambitious infrastructure plan in the world. China will serve as the center of a large trading network that reaches across the globe. In essence, China will serve as the Middle Kingdom or the epicenter of civilization. However, in order to accomplish this vision, China will need to invest, build, and win the support of other nations. Russia's invasion of Ukraine serves as a warning for China. Early indications suggest that sanctions are having a considerable impact on Russia's economy. According to some analysts, this is Russia's worst recession since the 1990s, with Goldman Sachs expecting a 10% loss in the Russian GDP in 2022. Russian banks were effectively cut off from the rest of the world as a result of the SWIFT ban. MasterCard, Visa, and American Express have suspended all transactions in Russia, which means that Russian cards will not operate anywhere else in the world. These actions, which could be taken in response to a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, would be disastrous for China, which is far more integrated into the global economy than Russia. If China is cut off from the rest of the world, it also means saying goodbye to the Belt and Road Initiative and China's primary goal to be the dominant player in the global economy. Now, in a nutshell, let's see what an invasion of Taiwan could actually mean for China. Taiwan has a number of traits that make invading the country even more difficult than Normandy. This invasion would have to be executed with precision and with no deviations from the first plan. Any delay would give the United States time to move its forces to help Taiwan's defense, making the invasion impossible to execute. This invasion would scare the living daylights out of the countries in the region. Many will come to protect the status quo. China's ideal image as a rising and peaceful power would be shattered. Although China went ahead with the invasion, any signs that the invasion was not executed as well as planned could lead to severe factional struggles within the Communist Party, leading to Xi Jinping's ouster. Ultimately, invading Taiwan would be a huge career risk for Xi Jinping and a disaster for China. Alright, that's basically it for today. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed today's content and found it helpful, make sure and go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and please let us know your opinions about today's video in the comment section below. Peace!